Everyone, this is Liz, and today in this video we're going to talk a lot about BSR and what it actually is. So the first thing that I wanted to sort of show everybody is where do we find BSR both in Amazon and on Profit Bandit. So within Amazon, you typically scroll down and it's going to be somewhere right here under product details. Right here this says it's 68,000 and the category is grocery and gourmet food. In actual Profit Bandit, the spot where it comes up is right here, rank 68,000. So BSR isn't pretty, a lot of people kind of like, they make a big deal out of BSR, and it in fact sometimes too big a deal. All you have to understand about BSR is it sometimes can be misleading. What it really is it tells you how, I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain it, the most recent sale, the speed at which that sale happened. So it could be really misleading. So let's just give an example. You could have a product that rank is like 600,000 and it had a sale, and all of a sudden it's 75,000 in toys. So what that basically means is it just recently had a sale. That sale was very recent and it was very quick. So I can't really figure out another way to describe that. It's in no way, shape, or form any sort of indication of how well a product sells. It's just that it had a recent sale. And I'll show you how it could be a little bit misleading. There's some products that are a lot better examples than what I'm about to show you, but either way, you'll kind of get a better understanding of how that works. So one of the best tools that I can highly recommend everyone uses is Camel. This tool kind of shows a lot of different things. We've talked about it in this product sourcing videos. We're about to talk about it now here to see how well a product has sold over a period of time. So I've got the famous sugar cookie Pop-Tarts right here. These things are really delicious. Don't pick them up. You'll eat them and lose inventory like that. Trust me, I did that. So on this particular example, this is the camel graph for the price history. This price history is over a period of its total existence. You can see a recent period if you want, a period of 3 months, or just all together. As you can see, I was selling them at around this point when they were 20 bucks. I talked about that in the video. It went up as far as to just about 25. So I had some all through this time. This is a history of how it is, and now all of a sudden they're 1168. And the primary reason that's happening is because they're available for $1.25 at Big Lots. So if we look at the sales rank, we'll be able to see the same type of data. And as you can see, the actual BSR has fluctuated quite a bit in the past, the history of this product being available, which looks to be 3 months. It actually looks, yeah, about 3 months. It's probably a little bit more. The other data showed us since December, so it's about 6 months. This should soon be updating to 6 months. So in the 6-month history, it's been as high as a rank of 14,575, meaning that it's sold extremely well, to all the way down to 123,000, which would be totally outside of my grocery comfort zone, unless I was like one of the few sellers that actually had this product. But as you can see, it fluctuates from anywhere between 14,000 and 123,000. So typically what I would do is sort of figure that if I could imagine that this graph all would equal out somewhere, it would be around the 60,000 range. So I can kind of give an estimate that its true BSR over the past 6-month period has been around the 60,000 selling range. And that's pretty good when you have very few sellers in grocery. That's just about at my threshold, so this would be a definite purchase as a result of that. So anytime you see a product, you want to think about that. Where does this graph kind of like converge to equal the true BSR over a period of time? And this is especially true when you want to go deep on a product. This product, if given the ability to buy more than a certain amount of units, I might buy multiples. But let's say that the actual fluctuations were much wider and the true BSR was like 100,000, and now I'm met with the actual opportunity to buy a couple hundred units. Would I do it? The answer to that would be no. And that's because of the true BSR, which is kind of like the convergence point of all this data. It would be about 60,000 overall 6-month period. So that's excellent. Now let's look at a product that has really steady sales, and we all probably know about. It is Oz Naturals, which is a skincare product. If we click through on here and take a look at this, As you can see, the main thing that I'm interested in sales rank for this particular product. Now you could see here that there was some wild fluctuations here from about the 1 spot to the 200 spot. A really big deal, right? So the true BSR would be about 100, but that's not entirely true because it looks to me like they ran out of stock here for a bit and then all of a sudden climbed back. So as you can see, it's never really moved out of line with being between number 1 and 10. And that's for a ridiculous amount of time. This is over a year period that it's never done that. So if you were kind of given an opportunity to buy thousands of these, you would obviously want to, because it's always between 1 and 10. If the price was right, you would definitely want to do it. So big difference between this and even sugar cookie Pop-Tarts in terms of which one you would want to jump on top of immediately for many units. So again, that's kind of how I figure out how many I want to buy. It's a little bit more of an advanced concept, but I still think most people can kind of get a little bit of information for that. Typically, in another video, we're going to go over how to test the market when you know nothing about it and when you're brand new. So we'll be covering that in another video. But for now, I sort of wanted to show you that camel method. There's also a tool that you can download within Amazon called Keepa, K-E-E-P-A, that also kind of show you similar information so that you can make really informed decisions before you actually take any big risks. So again, BSR kind of shows the speed of the most recent sale, how long ago it was, how quickly. Once you have a product that's constantly selling, the BSR will be like steady like this for quite a long period of time. And again, that's the beauty of camel. So now with that being said, let's talk about categories and their ranges. And the first thing that I want to show you is, again, the good old parenthesis method. Amazon used to actually display the total amount of units in any particular category, but they stopped doing that. But if you still use this trick in any given category, you can do beauty, you can do baby, you can even do books, and then hit the search bar. It will still show you up here in the corner how many total items are listed in that particular category. So here in books there are over 53 million items in that category. So that's kind of important to know, because a lot of people, what they'll use is rules to say, I will only source the top 5%, or some people are even more stringent and they'll say, I'll only source the top 2%. So if you want to actually sit there and do those calculations and create your own number ranges of BSRs to source, that would be the best way to do it. Base it off of the total amount of units available for sale in that. So what I went ahead and did is I went ahead and did that for all the different categories. And here they are. The baby, 1.059 million. Beauty, 1.8 million. As you can see, there's a ton of books, so we can go really wide in books because there's so many of them. There's also a ton in home improvement, which is something that I've never really heavily sourced, and home. There's a ton of products in home. There's very little in pets and or grocery. So those are two categories that I really like. And finally, arts and crafts, there's about 2 million. So what I'm going to do is now give you the range and the ranks that I like to see where I'm comfortable sourcing. Again, I'm not too fond of the baby niche, so I go really tight on that one. And these are primarily all the actual categories that I like to source in. Some of these are restricted. We'll talk about that in another video. I didn't cover, as you can see, arts and crafts is not in here because I never source in arts and crafts. It's rare unless I find something at a thrift store, which I don't go to very often anymore. I won't really source anything in there. So as you can see, I don't do books any longer, but when I did do books, it was under the 1 million mark. So any of these I'm very comfortable sourcing at these ranges. As you can see, I do pretty wide on health and personal because I have a lot of history in that category, as well as beauty. Electronics, I'm not too fond of. I just put 100K here because I've bought things that were 100K, but I'm not a fan of them. There is also some products that'll show in a category called CE. What that means is like everything else. I'm sorry, CE I think is consumer electronics. If it doesn't have a category, it's everything else. So pretty much this is what I like to stick to. Anything else is, I don't even look at it. So I just wanted to briefly show you those so you can have an idea. As you become more and more experienced, you'll have your own numbers that you go by. I know some people that go a lot deeper than into baby than this, but again, I hate the baby category. It's not one of my favorites. And during the holidays, Christmas, I'll go all the way up to like 300K. I go extremely wide for toys because I love toys, especially during the holiday season. So I'll probably widen a lot of these up quite a bit during the holidays. So that's it for this video. If you all have any questions, just ask them in the Facebook forums. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye. Hey OMG, this is Liz, and in this video we're going to talk about restricted categories. A little bit about what they are. Restricted categories are basically categories where you have to ask permission to actually be able to sell in them. A while ago, like maybe a couple months, they've actually been cracking down on these more and more recently. When I started selling almost 2 years ago, there wasn't really that much restricted. Jewelry was heavily restricted, but for the most part, automotive always has been from as far back as I can remember. But clothing as well, collectible books too. But things like grocery was not restricted. It looks like health and personal is restricted now. So that's, I wasn't even actually aware of that. These are all the restricted categories. I just searched within Amazon restricted categories, and they're right here. So what you can always do is look at the requirements. They're not that heavy for some of these categories. Like collectibles are very difficult to get into. Automotive is a little bit tougher. I think industrial might be. There's actually a lot of services out there that will ungate you. I'm not sure how lenient they are on brand new accounts, so what I would typically do is open up an account and start selling in an unrestricted category and get maybe like a month under your belt, and then start getting into some of these actual categories. They can be really lucrative because a lot of when you start private labeling, a lot of people aren't going to take the time to actually get unrestricted in them. They would rather just avoid them and go to categories that are easy to get into. So to look at the list, you can just, again, in Amazon, the seller help, just search restricted categories, and this is exactly what popped up. Now the other thing to consider here is that there is also, in addition to these categories being restricted, within each category there are certain brands that you cannot sell. Let me give a couple that I can think of off the top of my head that I've got caught purchasing them and then kind of sort of having to return them at a store. Number one is Spec. You cannot resell Spec. Number two is Discovery Kids. They sell a lot of toys. Beats by Dre. You cannot sell. Certain companies just don't allow you to sell their stuff. Dunkin' Donuts is one of them. And a lot of times what will happen is when you scan it with Profit Bandit, it will tell you. Of course, Frozen is like a Disney actual brand that only some of the products are available to sell. So what I basically did is I went onto the internet and sort of like compiled this list of products that are not allowed to, you can't sell. Bare Essentials is a big one. I know a while back, I think Bliss became one of these. So you cannot sell Bliss stuff. Bliss stuff used to be readily available inside of TJ Maxx. It was an excellent brand to sell. So I'm just scrolling through here. You can pause the video and take a look. Gillette's on there, which is a pretty big company that sells a lot of razors. Mary Kay's on here. NARS is a big cosmetic brand. I use a lot of those lipsticks, so that is definitely something can't sell. Oral-B, their toothpaste line, you cannot do. I'm not sure about what these perfume samples are. I just kind of copied and pasted them. I don't think you can even sell perfume if you wanted to, though, because it has to be merchant fulfilled, so that's kind of a pain in the butt about it. Theraflu, I wasn't aware of that. When by Chaz Dean, which is pretty popular infomercial product. Urban Decay, that's another cosmetic brand. Apple, Beats by Dre, Bose, Brookstone, all those are pretty big. So some people receive letters from this company. Logitech is use only. Life-proof cases. Monster Audio, Nikon, Ninja blenders. OtterBox is another big one. There's Spec. I told you I've gotten caught a couple times with that. Spigen now is not allowed, and DVD is now a restricted category, so keep that in mind. HBO's never been available to sell. Beachbody as well. I got caught a couple times. Bought some Beachbody stuff at a garage sale, and then kind of was like screwed. Had to sort of keep it. There's Dunkin' Donuts. Williams Sonoma. Recipe books are okay, but grocery items are not. Here's the Discovery Kids. Frozen. Again, not everything's restricted. As I told you before, I have sold plenty of Frozen stuff. I didn't know about this snow cone machine. Again, I copied and pasted this throughout the internet. Here's a couple more. The Furminator, which is a pet's product. And here it looks like these are awesome shoes. And Fitbit, which is really big in health and stuff. Okay, so that was a sort of list. You can again look that up on the internet. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is on Profit Bandit, we talked about the button that says sell it. On these restricted actual brands, we'll come back to this one here in a minute, but you can hit the sell it button, and when you hit the sell it button, let me find it, the sell it button, it will tell you that you're not allowed to list it. So that's kind of a really convenient tool within Profit Bandit that you can use and be able to identify when something is restricted versus when it's not. And I believe in order to make it easier for you, it'll tell you that you should sign in to your Seller Central account when you scan your first item of the day. So just keep that in mind. That is a really useful tool. Now, the other thing that I wanted to sort of talk about is a lot of times you'll come across a product. This happens a lot with backpacks as well as costumes, where you'll scan it. This is a product that I sold last year pretty often. It was this product from the Disney store. Now, I just wanted to show this an example. So this isn't the exact hat, but it was a Captain Hook hat. As you can see, one's in toy, but then there's also some hats in apparel. So what'll happen a lot with backpacks and costumes is people will put the costumes in apparel, and then somebody will come along and put it also in toys so that they can sell it because they're not approved for apparel. So that happens quite often. And in these instances, you obviously want to go with the toy because you cannot sell the apparel. So it's very common in both costumes and backpacks. You'll see that they're listed in both toys and apparel. So keep in mind what you have and be on the lookout for that. So I just wanted to show you that example so you could sort of see how that happens. And it's also pretty common with like backpacks with sporting goods and or luggage, which is restricted. So sporting goods is not. So that's pretty much it for the video on restrictions. Again, use that Profit Bandit sell it button, and if you're uncertain about something, look for it on the internet. There's quite a bit of people that have written what they haven't been able to sell and who's sending cease and desist letters. So that's it. If you have any questions, again, post them in the Facebook message boards, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Hey everyone, this is Liz, and in this video we're going to cover Profit Bandit. So first thing that we need to do is change our settings up and get them a little bit more in line so we'll get a little bit more accurate information. So in Android, again, I've never used the iPhone, but I'm assuming it's going to be very similar. I hit this little stack of like blocks, these 3 little blocks, and it brings up this list. What you'll need to do is hit settings here in this case. Now, before I start this, I did want to point one thing out. So one thing is that while I've been doing this for quite a while now and I've made a lot of money doing this, one thing that you're going to quickly realize about me is that I keep things like really simple. I don't overcomplicate them, and it's for a reason. I like to take action and lots of it. Most people will sit there afraid of taking any action, so they'll try to become an expert at any one given thing before they actually take any action. So I know we're all guilty of that. If you think about the last thing you kind of sort of convinced yourself to learn, let me sort of give you an example. For a long time, I was so concentrating so much on becoming the best I could be at YouTube in theory, and watching all these courses and watching all these videos and saying, you know, until I finish that course, I'm not going to start on my YouTube plans or anything like that. I was so focused on that what you don't realize is you get stuck thinking about all the stuff that could happen instead of actually taking action. So I realized that when I finally started to take action, that's when I really learned some things, and I really just started to make some money, which is awesome because all of us want to know, how do we make money? Well, the number one way you make money is you take action. You stop watching videos, you know, watch those, give yourself a certain amount of time to watch those videos, but for the most part, take more action than anything. So what you're going to quickly realize, and the reason I'm saying this, is that in a lot of this stuff, I don't know all the ins and outs of using Profit Bandit. I know how to use it effectively, and I know how to use it to make money, but there's probably a ton of people out there that are a lot better than me at using Profit Bandit. And the same goes for things like when people say, oh, I'm not going to scale my Amazon business because it can't handle it. And And I can tell you that I've made a lot of mistakes and I don't scale right, and I probably still need some systems in place to scale better, but I've made a lot of money in the process of doing that, and it kind of makes it a lot easier when you have a problem that, you know, your problem becomes you need to scale faster and more and smarter, as opposed to people that are still stuck at making so much money because they don't believe they have a system in place to scale. So my big tip from this is just take action. You'll see how I use Profit Bandit. As I said before, there's a ton of people that are better than me at Profit Bandit, but I don't really give a crap because I can use it, and I can use it to make money. So again, I don't know what half these settings do, but I do know that settings here is real important, and so let's go and see why. So the first couple settings that you'll want to change in here are uncheck media mail rates. That shouldn't be checked off. That has something to do with when you send a lot of like books and things like that. So by it being checked, I think you get charged an extra fee on your actual settings. The other thing is you want to make sure that FBA seller is checked off so that it could show you the FBA fees, since we're going to be selling everything via FBA for now. Then go into the make sure FBA shipping cost is checked off, and let me check which other one. There is a slot somewhere for the inbound FBA shipping rate. You'll want to change that. I think it might be this one. You'll want to change it to 60 cents, and I'll pull up the other one right now. At least 60 to 75 cents. I think the automatic thing that it's set for is a lot less. So that's just a guesstimate. What you want to do is you get better for it, change that for your own particular rates. And I think that's pretty much about it. Oh, the other one is this sales tax one. So on the sales tax one, and you'll see when you click on this, it'll pop up and allow you to change it. On the sales tax one, the thing about the sales tax one is you should probably get a sales tax certificate in your state, but you know, right now you want to first make sure you're going to take it seriously. So for what I typically do is I know that and add that on top of my cost when I enter it into Profit Bandit. So what you could do is, if you already plan on paying sales tax, you can just enter it in here. So since I'm in Texas, I always put 8 1/4, and you can change it to whatever you want to. And again, that's something that you need to figure out what you're doing, but just be aware that Profit Bandit automatically has 0 for that. So you'll want to change it if you, whatever your, depending on what your tax is. So let's go ahead and look over some examples that I came up with. The first thing that we want to cover is when you actually get into the Profit Bandit screen, you'll get this little picture. It'll have like a scan. There's a couple different ways that you could actually enter a barcode. You could just type it in, as I was doing here, and when you put your finger and tap your finger right here in this little box, the little keyboard will open up and you can type in the UPC code. You can also search it by the name of the product. As you'll see here in this other one, I put in Sugar Cookie Pop-Tart, and then after you're done, you just hit done and it'll begin searching for it. So once you do search for it, what you're going to notice is on a lot of these products that are big brand names, there are going to be a list of different things. So let's talk about this list really quick. Right here it tells you the BSR, which we'll talk about in another video, how many sellers there are, and what category this is in. So this is in grocery. Grocery is gated. It's not really that difficult to get into, but you'll probably want to start with another category before you try to get approved for grocery. This is the title of the actual product. Here's a picture. For this particular listing, the rank is 17,000, and this is a box of 12. If you notice on this one, the rank is 157,000. 2 sellers. This is 16 of them. On this one, there's 9 sellers. This one's 68,000 grocery, which is still pretty good. And this is a 2-pack with 12 each. So what you'll want to do when you actually look at these is you'll want to first look at the most favorable one, which in this case is the 17,000. When we clicked on that, we found out that that one was selling for like $6 and something, and we didn't like it while we were at Big Lots. But when we came back and clicked through on this $68,000 one, we noticed that a 2-pack, which our cost was $250, was selling at a cost of about $11.80. So that's the one that we decided to go with. Sometimes you'll need to click through multiple ones. And in this particular case, this is the one that we liked. So once you get that up, Let's just look at Profit Bandit here a little bit more in detail, this particular screen. Again, this is the scan button. Here's the search bar where you can look at. I've never tried the mic. Again, we went over the settings one. Here's the title. If you click on this title, a number of different options come up, and we'll probably do those in a future video. But let me just kind of talk about what you can actually get off that information. You can go to several different other sites, third-party sites that are good to use. The two that I most use are Keepa and Camel. But again, it's not something that those are the only two sites that I use out of them. Out of all of them. Right here, it tells us that Amazon is not selling this. Here's the rank. This is the weight. Here, I really won't go into detail on these. I believe these just pretty much sort out the information down below, so I don't really use them that often. Every now and then I'll hit a sell it one here, and what that basically does, it'll list it from your phone. So we'll go into that later on. It's really good to use when you want to test to see if a product's restricted or not. So during Christmas, I would use this really often on frozen products. If I'd see some in store and I'd want to find out if it was restricted or not, I'd hit sell it. And the reason that is on frozen products, it immediately, or any product that is restricted, it will show you the first screen. It'll say like, you cannot list this product. So that comes in really handy. Over here on this side, these are all the FBA sellers. The asterisk is the buy box. Whoever owns the buy box, that is like the person who's in line to currently sell it. These are all like non-FBA, merchant fulfilled right here. And here it shows if it's used or collectible, which in grocery, those are not allowed. It tells us here that it's new, and right here is where we would put our buy cost. So as you can see here in this example, I put $2.50, and it told me that selling this at the price of $11.68 would give us a profit of $2.35 after all of our fees. With these three little buttons, the puzzle is for the FBA Bluetooth scanner, which I do have one, and it's a pretty nice little tool once you get really serious about this business. Costs about $300, but it saves quite a bit of time. This one is to show your last scanned items, and it's pretty useful when you maybe want to go home. Like what Profit Bandit does is it saves all your items when you click on this button. In a later video I'll show you that function, but it'll show you everything that you scanned that day, so you can go home and actually take a look at those and do some research if you need to. And then this one will show you this listing on Amazon, so it'll open up your phone browser and show you what it looks like in Amazon. Every now and then I need to click on that so that I can see what the listing looks like and get some more information on it. So that's pretty much a quick rundown of what happens in Profit Bandit on this main screen. That's the screen that you'll be using a lot. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about is that a lot of times in categories like toys, you could sell products that are used. Toys is famous for this, so is kitchen. Categories like beauty and grocery, obviously you can't sell used Pop-Tarts. That's not a good thing. In this particular case though, with toys are something that you can even actually, I used to love to do this, is go to swap meets and find vintage stuffed animals. There's a couple times that I found some ETs that I sold for several $100s, and it was, I probably paid $4 tops for them because I found them at the swap meet. This is also really good for like really rare Beanie Babies. I found a ton of those at the swap meet, just kind of knowing the niche. And Furbies is also one of the things that I love to like pick up. A lot of people don't actually realize the value of these Furbies, so you can really capitalize on them. A lot of these like that are in good condition don't have a box, so it's just that the Furby is in good condition. So for toys, it's really common to see also board games. I would pick up a lot of used board games that were really rare at swap meets and thrift shops, and I would pay $1 or $2 for them and wind up selling them for a pretty penny. There's a couple board games that I got several $100s for, just because I would buy them when I first started, and then I would actually order the pieces that were missing on eBay and then complete the board game and sell it here on Amazon, and those did really well. So on this particular Furby, I have a Furby that is brand new and I want to list it, but as you can see here, all that's listed is a good Furby in good condition. This guy has the buy box. I'm assuming that this one actually is new. I would probably want to click through on Amazon and make sure that it is new. The second one's $39.02, and this one's in very good condition. So these are the conditions In a minute here, I'll show you the other conditions that there actually are. And here they are. A is for acceptable, G is for good, VG is very good, LN is like new, and N is new. And a couple tips that I'd like to give you about this. This is also very common in books. In fact, you will definitely see this in books. What I recommend is whatever grade you think it is, grade it one level lower, because people can tend to be really picky. So if I have a book that I feel is like new, I might just rate it very good. And that's just to kind of avoid mistakes. If you feel more confident and if you think it's like new, go ahead and do that. But just be really careful, because people can tend to give you some bad seller feedback based on that, and you don't want to mess with your seller feedback. In this second example, here is another Furby that shows it boxed. As you can see, the rank is 656,000. There are 3 new, but they are all merchant fulfilled. There's no FBA. So I could also make a play at trying to list one here, getting the buy box at a price of maybe like 80, and actually selling that Furby for a lot more than what it showed over here. Again, one potential thing that I might run into is the fact that it takes a long time to sell, or it just doesn't sell. So this one would be a lot faster, but at a $37 price point, there are 2 listings, and you could try to do this, especially come Christmas time. So I have about 5 of these sitting around that I picked up for really cheap, and I'll decide what I want to do with them come Christmas time. On this last example, what I wanted to show you is when it shows orange like this, that means that Amazon is selling this particular product. On products like this, a really huge thing that I like to do, especially come holiday time, is if I can get it cheap enough to sell it the same price as Amazon, especially with a rank that's like this good, I will definitely list it for that same price and monitor the sales. And notice when I start getting sales, there's a potential that Amazon's run out, so then I'll pick the price back up. Another play that can also be is match this second seller, so when Amazon sells out of them, especially during Christmas, this is something that happens very commonly, is Amazon sells out of a lot of different crap. So what I'll do is I'll list it at $22.98, and notice that as soon as Amazon's out, I'm like selling it like crazy. So there'll be some times, there's products that I sell like olive pitters that come, or cherry pitters, I'm sorry, that when they're in season and Amazon runs out, I know immediately, because I'm selling 30 to 40 a day. I realize that Amazon's out, so I'll try to have a ton of cherry pitters on hand at that point when Amazon sort of runs out. So that's something I wanted to cover about there. The last thing I want to go over is what happens when you click on this profit button. You can actually click on that. You get a setting like this that kind of shows the breakdown. In this case, $18.78 is the sales price. Here are the fees that you get charged when somebody buys it. You get $1 pick and pack, $1 order handling, 80 cents it gave us, meaning this is what it's going to cost us to send to Amazon. So as you can see, this is a little high based on the 65% we put in, or 65 cents per pound that we put in the earlier settings. So we might know that we probably need to narrow that down and go a lot lower. And then we get charged $2.37 for the weight fee. This is what 30-day storage would be. This is Amazon commission, and it's saying here that our buy cost, which we put in as $2.50, which is not the case, but then it would show our buy cost, and then that's how our profit comes out. So that's pretty much all there is to Profit Bandit. It's really simple. The primary thing that you want to keep into consideration is you just have to get good at it, and the only way that you're going to get good at it in recognizing what you can sell, it's a game of numbers, is you have to just get out there and scan. So for every 70 or so items that I do scan, I'll typically find between 7 and 10 that I'm actually interested in sending in. But just keep in mind that that's a lot of stuff to scan. I could spend about an hour in an aisle, an hour and a half in an aisle, scanning just nonstop. So the other things that you need to make sure is that you always have like a power bank on hand if you're going to want to do this for several hours a day. There was actually times where I would actually be out at stores for like 8 hours, sometimes even 10 during holidays, just buying stuff nonstop. And there's a ton of stuff out there available to purchase. It's just a game of numbers. You have to get out there and scan as much as you possibly can. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, as always, post them in the Facebook group. I'll talk to y'all soon. Take care. Hey everyone, this is Liz with OMG, and today I'm going to talk about scaling. One thing that you must understand, and there's so many different ways to take this business, it's sort of like unbelievable. The sky's kind of like the limit, And really what you want to do is entirely up to you. You can play it many different ways. There is no one right or wrong way. I know several people that make a ton of money using all these different ways. So first and foremost is identifying partner products and trying to attract partners and or clients. Now this is something that a bunch of actual people inside of OMG do. Jack Harvell is one of them. He partners up with a lot of people that have product. John Gill does this as well. I'm actually getting into this as well. We partner up with people that either have money and or product and just can't sell it on Amazon. And we rely on the fact that we are experts at selling on Amazon, and we know how to pretty much take anything to page one that there is out there. So this is a huge selling point once you become an expert from within Amazon. And in order to become an expert, you can either take the route of private label and or retail arbitrage. They both really serve a purpose. I can't stress it to you enough how retail arbitrage has certainly helped me become that much more successful at private label in an incredibly quick amount of time. And that's because of the fact that I've become an expert in so many different products. And I have several friends that make well into the seven figures that did this as well. The other way that you can scale is by hiring other people to scan. Now you can always just start with your family, your wife, and or your kids. A lot of people partner with their kids and or their wife because their two scanning is better than one. At some point you can also hire and outsource this. I've done that several times, especially during Christmas. I actually pay people to actually scan, and also you could share finds with your friends and or family, and that's because of the fact that when Christmas comes around, there's so much stuff that you can literally sell that everybody's selling stuff left and right. So by telling your friends or family and trading products that you're selling well, and they trade products that they're selling well, gives you the ability to buy that many more products and make that much more profit, because trust me, everybody's stuff will sell. The next thing is just focusing and finding particularly good stores, identifying them, and becoming an expert in them. So I talked about this out in the field, how important it is that I take a little bit of a different approach from most people. A lot of people try to scan in volume, and meaning like a lot of different stores. I've just become an expert in certain stores where I know when they get something new, because I can just tell that their shelf space looks a little bit different. And because I know the store so well, I can be in there and maybe scan like an hour tops the entire store, or 2 hours tops, and I find gems in there all the time, and that's because I know the store so well. Now this is something that both Mike and I have had a lot of great experience with. Mike made several hundreds of thousands of dollars off that store back in his Magic the Gathering days, and per year I make $500,000 on just one store alone. So again, becoming an expert at those stores is really super important, and it's a way that you can certainly scale your business. Another way that you can scale your business really quickly and easily is by finding replenishable products. These are products that you restock. So it's products that the store carries often, whatever store you're focusing on these at, and you can get them pretty easily. And it's just products that you run out of stock on Amazon, or you're about to run out of stock on Amazon. You can run out and grab these at those stores and restock them. This does not just include like grocery stuff. It includes like, stuff like deodorants, things that people are always going to need, and or just products in general that you can easily grab and are on hand at your store. It could even be something like I don't know, even a bottle of Febreze, and or let's say there's a water bottle that you keep buying and people keep buying it, and then there's more water bottles at the store. That's an example of a replenishable product that's out at that store, and you can easily grab more than one, and the store keeps restocking them, and you can continually sell them. So that's kind of another example of how you can scale. The other way is by just creating multi-packs of already existing products that sell really well. So the benefit of this is it allows you to control the buy box and pretty much own the buy box on your own until people start seeing what you're doing, and then they start doing it as well. But it gives you that period of time to control the buy box and hog all the sales. On spots like these, you can even actually get them boosted by running traffic initially, and a lot of times the traffic for these are really cheap. We're not talking about dollar clicks, we're talking about clicks in the cents. And again, that's because you created a listing, it's brand new, and usually it's in categories that aren't that competitive. Yet another way to scale further is by the selling of seasonal products. These products, once you get really good at them, you can even private label them, and these do tremendously. I have a ton of seasonal products that I actually keep in stock all year because, funny enough, seasonal products sell year round. One of the things that I sell the crap out of all year round are Christmas inflatables and a lot of Halloween items. So those are some of my favorite items to actually stock all year round because people are buying this stuff all year round. Yet another way to scale your business is through wholesaling. And what I mean by that is approaching companies that sell products wholesale and then selling them on Amazon. Now, I always talk about my friend Justin, who made the $40 million last year. 90% of this was done through some type of wholesaling. He purchased products that he knew would sell well and sold them on Amazon. And they were not even his products. He didn't even own them. So anyone that tells you not to sell other people's goods doesn't know what the heck they're talking about, because it's definitely a model that you can use, and you can use it to make millions of dollars, and it's a model to scale. So again, it's definitely not anything to laugh at or avoid doing. You can certainly pick this model and make a ton of money. So never listen to anybody that says you shouldn't do it, you should just private label. That's a bunch of BS. Another way to scale, again, is private labeling. This can become extremely powerful if you focus on products that you've sold a ton of through the use of either wholesaling and or retail arbitrage. And what I basically mean by that is some of my best products have been products that I sold other people's brands. I either acquired them through wholesaling and or retail arbitrage, and it could have been a seasonal product or something like that, and I realized, wow, these sell super well. There's really not a lot of competition, and I know I can sell the crap out of them. On a retail arbitrage perspective, I'm pretty sure I can come in here, make a brand, and sell the crap out of them like that. So those have been some of my most successful products. I highly recommend that. That's kind of why I highly recommend selling retail arbitrage to begin with. And again, one of the last things that I wanted to mention here with scaling is the fact that all this stuff that you do builds your confidence, starting with that very first sale. I can't stress that enough. One of the most important things about this business, in the most encouraging things, is when you get that first sale. There's nothing like it. It's amazing. You realize that you can really make money online, and it will, trust me when I say this, it will be the fastest money that you've ever made online in your entire life. It is truly amazing that as long as you go out there and you scan items that fit this criteria that I've laid out here, as long as you do that, you will make your first sale faster than anything you've ever made your first sale on. And when you do that, there is nothing, no better feeling than that confidence that it gives you. And I kind of remember when I first got my sale, I went and I showed everybody I knew, look at this, I just sold something on Amazon. And at the end of the day, after I sold several items, I mean, I just wanted to show everybody and their mother, like, look at what I did on Amazon. And it really builds your confidence, and it helps you set your standards. Like, you set these goals, and it's just amazing that when you set those goals and you set these expectations, that you can actually accomplish them through the help of Amazon and all their traffic and all that good stuff. So again, as I said earlier, you will never make money as fast as you can on Amazon. Just trust me and get out there and start scanning, and you're going to see that your confidence is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be hard to actually when somebody tells you that you can't do this, you're going to laugh in their face, because you're going to realize, I just got my first sale on my first day. How amazing is that? So again, guys, if you have any questions, post them in the Facebook group, and just get out there and start scanning. I'll talk to you soon. Hey OMG, this is Liz, and in today's video we're going to talk about just scanning best practices. The most important thing to think about when you're on your trip is always take notes. You'll come across either ideas for either retail arbitrage or even private label. You'll always want to take those notes down. You'll even come across like spots where you can't scan for one reason or another. I know in the video footage that Mike Long's going to be releasing soon, one of the things that was really frustrating about when we went out on the field for like an hour and a half, it was me, Mike, Cotton, that went out there, and one of the things that was super frustrating was the fact that we were only getting like 1 bar of coverage on our cell phones. So it was really frustrating because we had to keep we were scanning inside of, first I forgot which store, it was a Tuesday morning, and we just couldn't get to scanning. And one of the most important things is to scan consistently. So maybe at the first actual Tuesday morning, it took us about 45 minutes to scan maybe a total of 12 products. And we really found nothing. There was stuff with really small margins. So when we went to big lots, the same thing happened. And we were actually getting really terrible footage. So we wound up scanning maybe about another 7 to 8 items. And that's when we finally found the Pop-Tarts that were kind of like based off of experience. So when you can't scan that well in a store, don't get frustrated. Just write down products that you think might actually work out and save them to go home and take a look at. So again, always take notes. Make sure you at least spend a couple hours on a trip. Now, one last thing that I didn't put in here, but I want you all to kind of know, there will be some trips that you go out and you scan and you don't find anything. And you spend a few hours out there and you find nothing. Don't ever get to the point where you're desperate and you sort of bend your own rules to include some products that you would typically never sell. Always just stick to your rules and realize that this is a numbers game. There will be trips that you find absolutely nothing on, but don't get discouraged. The next trip you can find like a lot of gold. So there's been plenty of times that I went out scanning for several hours at a time and I found nothing. And if I had bent my rules a little bit, I would have spent my bankroll. And then there'll be times where I'll go out and I'll actually blow through my bankroll almost immediately. So the next tip that I want to talk about is that you should be focused on a few departments. And obviously we talked about restricted categories in another video, but you want to focus on the products for categories that you're either allowed to sell in or that you've applied to and they've accepted you, and then wait to get into other categories. So focus on those for now and really get good at actually learning those categories. So my favorite are these 3. Of course, they're all restricted, so I got ungated for them. But what you want to do is maybe go into sports and outdoors, and or lawn and patio, or home and kitchen, categories like that allow you to get in there. Or look at what the prerequisites are to actually get applied for some of these and apply for them. Worst thing that will happen is Amazon will say no, and then you can try again after you have a little bit of selling history. I believe books are fairly easy to get into, so you could sell used books. There's plenty of categories that you could still actually sell without getting ungated. And what you want to do is scan at least 30 items in each of these sections just to kind of get a feel for scanning in those sections. And so take the time to actually do that. What you might always start to do is also just scan at home just to kind of get an idea of what's selling out there. Scan items that you have in your house that you've actually purchased before, and look through Amazon at products that you've actually bought to see what actual categories they're in. Some more tips here are, if you find one product and brand that sells well, then scan more products in that brand. The example when we were out in the field is there was actually a pretzel that I scanned. It was a pack of pretzels, and that company also had peanuts, and they had other types of pretzels. So I immediately scanned several of them when I found one of the pretzel boxes was quite profitable. The next tip is, when you actually scan on Profit Bandit, if we take a look at an example of a Profit Bandit, in this case, our buy cost is $250. Try to make sure the profit is equal to your buy cost so that you're getting a good return on your money. That's kind of how I sort of play it. It's sometimes referred to as the 3x rule. The 3x rule works pretty well, so I always try to make sure that it equals out, and also that it meets my BSR requirements. Another really important concept that I want to talk about briefly is this concept of testing out products. So in the example, when I scanned the Pop-Tarts out in the field, we mentioned that there were 24 of those that I would want to buy immediately. Part of the reason that I would buy 24 immediately is just I've had experience with that particular product. But when you're first starting out, you want to try to diversify your products as widely as possible. And that's just for reasons that you don't want to go too deep into any one product, like say Pop-Tarts, and not actually know whether or not it sells. So what I typically like to do is recommend people get 3 items of each. And there's a reason why I say 3. For me, 2 could just be lucky. Like if you get 2 and they both sell, you know, it could just be luck. But 3 starts to begin to look like a pattern. So if 1 sells, that could be luck. If 2 sell, that may be a pattern. It still could be luck. But when 3 sells, that almost tells you that there's a pattern going on and that there's the potential to sell a lot more. So at that point, I will go back to the store and buy
as many as I want. And also, I will also investigate this using the camel strategy that I talked about in another video, and I'll look to see how the sales rank looks over a certain period of time and see if it looks pretty good. And that's kind of how I make a decision to go really deep on a product. The other thing that you want to watch out for is expiration dates. We talked about that when I was out in the field with Mike. I always want to buy expiration dates that are at least 90 days out, because I believe you have to call them back or destroy them 40 days within the expiration date. So be careful with those. Also watch out for products that could contain potential hazardous materials, ingredients such as alcohol, ammonia, or something flammable. One of the best examples I can think of is when I was first learning this, I went kind of like deep on a nail polish. Luckily, it was only like 30 cents. I bought like about 30 of them, but nail polish has some kind of flammable material, so that's not allowed. It's actually considered hazmat, so you don't want to go deep on any product like that. The other thing you want to consider is multi-packs. When you do scan, as we went and go back and look at the Pop-Tart example again, on the Pop-Tart example, it clearly says 2 packages with 12 each. So they'll state in the title whether they're a 2-pack or they're a single pack. Be aware that some products will be multi-packs and you'll think, oh wow, this sells for a lot of money, but then you don't realize that it's actually a multi-pack. So lastly, when you go out there, you want to try and practice scanning in the store for at least 2 hours, and then you can post it in the Facebook group what you find. It can be pretty fun to kind of share with everybody and see if you can get some recommendations in terms of what to buy and what not to buy. And I think we looked at this already. Let's see. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is this list of stores that I actually like to hit. These are some of my favorite stores, and stores that I would regularly hit when I was actually scanning on a regular basis. So I no longer go to all of them. Every now and then I will hit some of them, but I typically don't go to the majority of them. So Big Lots, definitely one of my favorites. It's one that we scanned in when we were with Mike out in the field. TJ Maxx, haven't gone here in a while, but I used to love to scan it, especially during Christmas. Same thing with Marshalls and Ross. Those are both a couple other excellent stores that you can definitely scan in. Five Below, I haven't been lucky enough to get a Five Below around here, but I do know a lot of people scan them. DD's Discounts, this is an excellent one. I love scanning at this one. You'll find a lot of items that are only, like, you can only get one of that item, but a lot of them are huge winners. Dollar Tree, at Dollar Tree, that's usually like dollar items, but you can always pick up dollar items and then bundle them. There's a lot of dollar bundles that sell really well on Amazon. Regional stores like Myers, I'm not even sure if that's the way you pronounce it. I've seen a lot of people post about it. I can't read that well, so I don't know how to pronounce it. But there's a lot of regional chain stores that work really well. I know a lot of people love to go to Kohl's, but I've never had any success at all at Kohl's. Toys R Us, this is definitely a good one during Christmas. Walmart, Target, Kmart, those are pretty much available everywhere. A lot of this seasonal stuff sells really well in there. Regional ethnic stores, this is one of my favorite. I live in a border town, and there's a lot of Hispanic stores and Asian stores that I love to go into and scan, because you'll find that you're not going to get a lot of competition. You find a lot of unique items, and you'll also find a lot of items that they import from China, so you can private label yourself and run them as tests. So that's a really great one. Liquidation stores are always great. There's even a lot of liquidation in swap meets. Thrift stores are great because you'll find a lot of collectible items, and they don't classify as collectible. They'll be like in the toys, but they are really good, and you can get really good bargains there. I used to pick up a lot of board games that were sealed that would sell for a ridiculous amount. Garage sales and estate sales, always great to go to. They also will have stuff like board games and vintage stuffed animals, things that you can sell used, but they'll also surprise you every now and then. You'll get a lot of new stuff. And finally, Craigslist. A lot of people post a lot of big collections in Craigslist, and you can go take a look at them, split it up, sell it on Amazon, do a lot of different things with that. So there is no shortage of places to scan. The bottom line is you have to get out there and you have to scan in order to make some money. So it's a numbers game. The more you scan, the more money you make. And obviously, as your bankroll grows, you'll actually have trouble spending money because there's just so much time in the day that you have the ability to spend. and you'll eventually have plenty of money, but you won't have enough time to scan all these places that at once. When you first start, you have a limited bankroll and you spend it so fast that you have to sit and wait until you get your paycheck from Amazon so that you can go back out there and scan again. So again, just continue to scan and get out there. You can also do this with online stores. It's just never been one of my specialties other than during the Christmas season. So if you're good at looking for bargains online, this is definitely something you can do online. So if you have any questions, just post them in the Facebook group. If not, take care.
Hey everyone, this is Liz with the OMG, and in this video, this is going to be video one of several about sending in items and prepping them. It's a multi-step process, and so in this one we're going to talk just a little bit about doing this in theory, and in a later video we're going to actually show you how to scan items in, how to get them into Amazon Seller Central and or Inventory Lab, and then finally we're actually going to show some examples of products and how they look in terms of bundles and stickering and stuff like that, but we're still going to talk about it in theory right now. So the first thing that we need to talk about is inventory placement. What is it? Do we need to use it? And how important is it? When I first started, I typically never used this, and that's because I would buy products in multiples. And what I mean by that is, like, say for example, I went out and scanned for 10 hours and I came back with a total of, say, I found, let's just say in theory, like let's just say we scanned 10 hours and we found 4 items per hour or something like that. So we came with a total of 40 different items and maybe 3 of each item. So a total of 120 different items. Those 120 items are typically divided up to be sent to several different Amazon centers. They don't just go to one Amazon center. And so let me use the example of the sugar cookie Pop-Tarts. If we were to buy the sugar cookie Pop-Tarts, like I told you to buy things which are in lots of 3, we would have had to have bought 6 different sugar cookie Pop-Tart boxes and then bundle them to create 3 sets of sugar cookie Pop-Tarts. So those 3 sets, when we scan them into Amazon, Amazon would request that we send them to 3 different centers. So one might go to Phoenix, one might go to Richmond, and one might go to Indiana. Now, there's only one way to avoid that, and that is by turning on the inventory placement option, which can be found inside of your settings. But Amazon's going to want to charge you, I believe it's between 20 and 30 cents. So when I used to do it was 20 cents, might be 30 cents. But again, I haven't used this very often. I would typically use it with oversized items to avoid having to send to multiple centers. So one more warning about this. This only relates to the same UPC. So let's go back to our example of sugar cookie Pop-Tarts. Let's say we wanted to send those in and use inventory placement. Those would all go to the same center. But now let's say that we added a supplement with that same batch. We wanted to send all together to the same center. They might not go to the same center with inventory placement turned on because they're 2 different UPCs. So this only works for the same UPC. So again, I've never used it other than with oversized items, and I encourage you sort of just get prepared to send things in batches, and when you go out scanning, you scan and you're looking to send a batch in. So again, it's something that you want to look into and then figure out as you go along, but it's something that I definitely have not used other than with oversized item. So the next step is when you're buying these products, a lot of them are going to be bought from like stores like Marshall's, Ross, DD's, Five Below. They're going to have prices. Big Lots has them. Big Lots stickers are kind of annoying. So you're going to want to definitely get a Scotty peeler and some Goo Gone and make sure you take those prices off. You never want to leave them on. You will get people that complain about it if you do and leave you bad feedback. So don't do that. Make sure you remove those prices. Don't just cover them with your FNSKU label that you print out with your Dymo or your Avery, because that's just lazy. You want to take the prices off. So that brings us to the third thing, is make sure that once you remove those prices, you always cover the UPC with the FNSKU label. And you never want Amazon to be able to see that UPC label. You want to cover it with the FNSKU. The next thing is polybags. Polybags, there's a couple different styles. You will need to polybag some items where they're either open they can get caught on something, or if they're like a stuffed animal, or they're multi-packs. So they come in a lot of different sizes. We usually keep in stock the 14 by 10 and several others, but the 14 by 10 is our most used one. Ours are not self-seal, but you can get self-seal, and basically what those are is they have a strip that you remove and then you fold it over and it sticks automatically. We actually seal ours with a heat sealer. We have several heat sealers, and we apply a little bit of pressure on it and it seals the bag. And so we buy sealers, and it's just something that we prefer to do. With that being said, any poly bag that has at least a 5-inch side will need a suffocation warning label, and we cover that in another video. You'll definitely want to either print those out on your own computer or you buy those from Amazon. Multi-packs, you will need do not separate labels. Those you can either get on eBay or Amazon, but anytime you bundle something together, you need to poly bag it. Cover the UPCs, make sure the UPCs cannot be seen, then stick an FN SKU on there that is for the multi-pack, and then make sure you got a suffocation and a do not separate label. So potential to have 3 different stickers on that, and always cover the UPCs or make sure they're not showing however you polybag them. And again, multi-pack should be polybagged with the suffocation and the do not separate set sticker. And the last thing that I forgot on here is always cover the UPC. The next thing, once you kind of prep all the items, you print out all the stickers, you cover the UPCs and everything, what you'll do is you'll get a list that you'll need to pack them according to what Amazon tells you, or the software you use. It'll tell you how to pack them. You'll want to pack those up, make sure they're packed pretty safe, and you'll want to make sure you take up as much of the space within the box as possible and safely secure everything. There is box resizers that you could purchase. What we typically do is we just fill them up with air pillows that we have left over from Amazon's sending us stuff, or other companies sending us stuff, or we make our own as well. We also have craft paper on hand. We have a lot of bubble wrap. We have a lot of this stuff on hand that we actually use, because you want to fill in all that extra space and make sure that the boxes get to Amazon safely. So the accepted types of fill for these boxes are foam, air pillows, which is one of my favorites, bubble wrap, craft paper. Also, there's newsprint that's unprinted. Let me go in and show you an example of what that looks like. This is one of my favorites, because what we actually used to do is fill extra shopping bags that we had with this stuff, and we would use that as filler, and this is it right here. Moving boxes, packing paper, it's like newsprint. It comes in like these huge bundles that you can buy, and then we would stick it in all the shopping bags that we had. And that's what I put right here, and then make sure they were just tied really tight. What you cannot put, you will get in trouble, is if you put peanuts loose and or shredded paper. You don't want to put that stuff in there. Avoid that and only use the accepted stuff. And other than that, that's pretty much it. What we'll cover in another video is how to scan this stuff in. That way we can get that packing list and pack this stuff up. But I just wanted to go through that real quick prep. And I'll also share some screenshots of some common situations and how you want to prep those items. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, just post them in the Facebook group. Talk to y'all soon. Hey everyone, this is Liz, and in this video I'm going to talk about the tools that you need for retail arbitrage. So this is just a beginner's set of tools. You don't necessarily need all of them, and as I go into each of them, you'll see I'll give the reasons why and why not. You will absolutely need Profit Bandit, and in addition to Profit Bandit, you're actually going to need to download also a barcode scanner, which is free. Profit Bandit is $9.95 or $9.99 a month, but it's absolutely necessary. You can also use the Amazon one for iPhone, but Android does not have that one. So Profit Bandit, I still to this day, I've been subscribed to that for years. It's pretty awesome. They actually recently started the subscription thing. Before it was actually free. You would pay like $15 one time and then it was free, but now they've gone to a subscription service because obviously they've seen that there is a huge amount of people that actually use it regularly and cannot live without it. I am one of those people. So you need Profit Bandit, and in the next video we'll go over the settings and things like that. In order to actually get it up and running, you will need to open up an Amazon seller account. We'll cover that at a later time. It's pretty much self-explanatory, but we'll go over that later. The second thing that you will certainly need are labels and a label printer. And let me just pull up Amazon so I can kind of show you some of the options that you actually have. If we go here to Amazon.com, what we'll notice is that there's a couple different ways that you can play this. You can get an actual laser printer. Sometimes we do print off labels off of a laser printer. We use a Brother laser printer, and what we get is Avery 5160, I want to say, are the labels. And we get these, and this is what we label our stuff with. So you can choose that option, a laser printer and these Averys, or you can go with the Dymo 450 Turbo, and I have several of these. These are the best things ever. These print out things one by one. They even have like a double decker of these. These are awesome. Like I said, I have several of these. They last for a long time. You can go with these Dymos, and then they come with a kind of a beginner's roll of these labels, but after that you can buy them on Amazon. And like I said, I cannot live without this little Dymo. It is the best tool that there is. So that's the Dymo setup. The Dymo will run you about $75 if you decide to go that option. If not, like I said, you can go with the option of the laser printer if you already have one, and then just get yourself a bunch of Avery labels. The next thing that you will certainly need is a Scotty peeler. And for those of y'all that haven't actually done arbitrage, let me kind of explain what a Scotty peeler is. This will be like your second best friend. A lot of people actually make their kids use this. The ones that you want to get, I'm not particularly fond of these plastic ones. I actually like this little steel metal one. And they have a 3-piece, here's a set of 2.9. They used to be like a 3-piece for $11.99, but I guess they don't have that anymore. So this is a really good one. These are really sharp, but they take labels off really easily. So I usually like to get some Scotty peelers, and my you'll need in some cases to actually use some kind of liquid to help soften this up. My favorite thing to use is Goo Gone. A lot of people don't like the smell of it and things like that, so people use some other different things, but I particularly am fond of Goo Gone, so I definitely always have Goo Gone on hand. And for those of you that don't know what it is, I usually have the spray one. It's just this like liquid that gets anything off of sticky and things like that. So Goo Gone for sure. I should have probably added this here with the Scotty peeler. Again, you don't have to get Goo Gone, but get something else. This will run you about $20. And these are musts when you're shopping at places like Big Lots, Ross, Marshalls. They all come with tags. You'll need to get those tags off before you send them into Amazon. You definitely do not want to leave tags on and then send them to Amazon, because you will get people that complain about that. And although they'll complain about it and put it in your seller feedback, you can get it removed, but you just don't want to start off like that. The fourth thing that you'll need, possibly, now this is a possible one, you might not necessarily need it, but poly bags. When we first started selling on Amazon, we would get our poly bags off of eBay and Amazon. You can buy them in a lot smaller lots, but now we typically get them at Paper Mart. So the bag that we use most, I believe, is a 14 by 14. I'm not sure. Might even be the 14 by, I think 14 by 20 is too big. Let me pull up and see what our favorite bag is. Okay, our favorite bag is this 10 by 15 poly bag. It's a 2 mil. 2 mil talks about the thickness of the bag. Amazon now allows 1.5 mil. So I would just put in here 10 by 15 and see what pops up. You can also get other sizes. Some of them are self-sealing, which is awesome, because then you just have to pull off a strip and then it slaps on onto itself. And some of them have the suffocation label already. So this, as you can see, has a suffocation label. You'll need to put that on any bag that has one edge longer than 5 inches, and that's for purposes of, so like their child doesn't choke on it or something like that. So these are sold in the 100 pack, and these are awesome. This is what I would get to start off with, because again, there's chances that you might not necessarily need this. I usually just have them on hand, and I have a massive amount of them because of the fact that we're always sending so many different things. And in a later video, we'll talk about what exactly you need to use these for. So again, poly bags is a potential that you'll possibly need. For sure, you'll need these 3 poly bags is a possibility. So we know they run about $30 for some suffocation labels. Anytime you have something bagged, again, you'll need this, and they are pretty available on Amazon. We just have to search suffocation labels, and you'll see they'll pop up. So we usually get this 2 rolls for $9, and we have these on hand, and we have quite a bit of them on hand. So you can also print these on your computer. People have these and they just print them up on an Avery label, but I just choose to buy them for sake of speed. So these will usually run you about $9. Possibly set labels. Let me just go ahead and show these and talk about what these are. In the example that we gave in the webinar where I found the actual Pop-Tarts, the Pop-Tarts, when we were looking at them in the store, let's pull up those Pop-Tarts real quick so you can have an idea of what I'm talking about. Sugar cookie Pop-Tarts. We'll use this pretty often as an example. So as you can see, this came in a single pack for $6.55 of one of these boxes, but we're paying $125 and this sells for $6.55. It's probably not a good idea to sell. My basic rules of thumb is try to always get something that's over $10.99. And here we have a 2-pack that is $11.80. So a 2-pack means I would have to combine 2 of these together. So I would certainly have to polybag them, number 1. But number 2, I would have to put a sticker on them that says that they're to be sold in a set. And the reason that is because if Amazon sees them in one bag, some of the employees will assume that they're meant to be split up. And then you're kind of like screwed because they just split up your set of 2. So when you have something like that, what you need to do is buy these labels that say sold as set and put one of these outside the poly bag so that Amazon knows that they're supposed to be sold as a set. So again, these are about $7.95. They're a must when you start to do multiple multi-packs, and that's what a multi-pack is bundling more than one product together. The last thing that you'll need here, or I'm sorry, not the last thing, but one of the other things that you'll need is shipping boxes and a tape. You can just do it the old-fashioned way with scissors, or you can get yourself a tape gun. But the shipping boxes, there's 2 spots that I usually get them at. Either U-Haul, and I believe U-Haul, most of them have free shipping, and the other spots are Home Depot and or Lowe's. And my personal favorite box, let me pull that up at just Home Depot. We have a ton of these on hand. A reason we choose Home Depot, I actually tend to like Home Depot's boxes slightly more than Lowe's. But there's a Home Depot much closer. My personal favorite box is this medium box, the 18 by 18 by 16. As you can see, they're $1.12 each, and you can grab. We have a ton of these on hand. During Christmas, we have thousands of these on hand because Home Depot sometimes cannot keep up with our demand. The 2 Home Depots that are close to here, so we like to have thousands of them in hand. As you can see, they only have 900 in store, so that's not a good thing for us. We start stocking up on these right about in July, and we want to have, our goal is to have, like I said, thousands on hand. So these are $1.12. They're awesome boxes. I can't say enough about them. These, like I said, they'll run you $1.16 each. Shipping tape, we still aren't happy with our shipping tape people. We've tried a ton of different shipping tapes, and we just cannot find one that we really like. In terms of scale, our scale is bought from Amazon. It's actually this 160 kilogram scale. We use this. It's an optional product. At first, what we used to actually do was weigh it just on a regular person scale and then do it like that. So we kind of did it sort of the getaway, but you can definitely, as soon as you start to scale up, you get a scale. And lastly, this makes things so much faster. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that I left off here, but the thing that makes it so much faster is the actual USB label. This thing right here. It sits on your desk. You just scan it. You know, it's sort of like you work at Kmart or Walmart. It comes in real handy. It's one of my favorite things to use. It makes scanning much quicker. And you basically scan this into Amazon so you can send it off. So that, I believe it only runs about $25. Let's take a look at the cost there. I think they've gone up about $50. They used to be a lot cheaper. You might be able to find one cheaper. The thing that I found is I've actually gone through one of these that broke. It was a piece of crap. It was actually much cheaper, so I do recommend you get something better. Lastly, one of the things that I use, and I talk about how I don't know how to send things in direct from Amazon, that is the truth, and that's because when I started, I was using something called Inventory Lab. Inventory Lab allows you to scan things in. It makes it so much easier. I think they have a month free, and then after that it's like $40 a month. To this day, it's $49 now. I still use this product. It's one of my favorite tools. Again, it's not something that I recommend right out of the gate. Make sure this is a business that you want to continue doing. You can also do the trial and then later on, just cancel it and do it the standard way and then come back to it when you feel like your business is at that point. But it's certainly one of my favorite tools. It's not absolutely necessary. It's just a tool. And as you get better at this business, you can add other tools to make it a lot easier. So that's pretty much it for this video. In the next video, we'll talk about Profit Bandit and some settings. But for now, I just wanted to cover this. The absolutely mandatory tools that you will need are Profit Bandit, the labels and the label printer, Scotty peelers, and potentially some poly bags and suffocation labels. Other than that, everything else is sort of like optional. You will also need these set labels if you're doing a sets, and tape and shipping boxes. These last two are both optional. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Other than that, thanks.